Hi guys, Svetlana Sotak here, and today I'd like to show you how to make this easy to sew classic lunch bag. This lunch bag finishes at 7 inches wide by 9 inches tall. It is 4 inches deep, is fully lined, and features a button and loop closure, which makes for a super easy closing and opening. The lunch bag is also fully washable, so when you get it messy, all you need to do is pop it in the washing machine, line dry it, and give it a good press if needed, and you're good to go. To make this lunch bag, you will need two 12 inches wide by 15 inches tall exterior panels. I'm using cotton linen blend print. You can use canvas or home decor fabric. And please choose an overall non-directional print. This way your lunch bag will look its best. You will also need two 12 inches wide by 15 inches tall quilting cotton lining panels. You will need one 4-inch long ribbon or leather lace for your closure loop. You will need a button, a strong thread, and hand sewing supplies for attaching your button. I am using pearl cotton. Stack your exterior and lining panels on top of each other. So all four panels are placed on top of each other. Sides are lined up, so are the bottoms. And use a ruler and a fabric pen to mark a 2-inch square along each bottom corner. Now to do that is place your 2-inch marks along the ruler right here along bottom and side edge, and use your pen to mark the square like this, and do the same on the other side, again lining up 2-inch mark with the side and bottom edge. Now bring your sharp fabric shears and cut through all 4 layers, cutting along the line only, making sure not to cut outside of the line. Right, and now we have it. All 4 our panels are ready for sewing. Now fold one exterior panel's top edge in half and pinch gently to mark where the middle point is. You can even mark it using your disappearing fabric pen. Now fold your ribbon in half to form a loop, like so, and place the loop right side down along the middle mark right here. Now use a clip or pin to hold it in place. And now take this panel to your sewing machine and stitch along the edge right here, attaching the loop in place using 1/8 inch seam allowance, and stitch back and forth a few times to make sure the loop is neatly secured. Now place exterior panels right sides together, like so. Line up all the edges and use clips or pins to hold the side and bottom edge together. Like so. Now take it to your sewing machine and stitch along the 2 side edges and the bottom edge using 1/4 inch seam allowance and back stitching at the beginning and end. Now take the panel to your ironing board and press the seams open. Pin or clip to hold it in place, and we will take it to the sewing machine and stitch along this raw edge using 1/4 inch seam allowance, back stitching at the beginning and end, and this is how we will close the sides of our bag. This is what gives us boxy corners. So again, do the same for your second corner, but by lining up the edges, clipping, and now we are gonna sew. Now turn your exterior panel right side out, like so. Push out the corners with your fingers to make them neat. And set the panel aside for now. Place your lining panels right sides together the same way as you did for your exterior panels. Clip them along the side and bottom edge. Take it to your sewing machine and the same way as you did for the exterior, stitch along the side edges and the bottom edge. The only difference being you will need to leave a 3-inch opening in the bottom seam. So I like to mark these points right here so I don't forget. And I'll start stitching right here, back stitch at the beginning and end, stitch all the way to the end, back stitch at the beginning and stitch along this panel and this side as well, leaving this little hole open because we need that for turning the bag right side out. Here's my panel and here's the little opening that I left in the bottom seam. Now press the seams open, use your clips or pins to hold your gussets closed. Take it to your sewing machine and stitch them closed the same way as you did for the exterior panel. Here's my finished lining. I stitched the gussets closed. I have a hole in the bottom seam for the opening, and I'm going to keep it right side in, the way I was sewing it. Now I'm gonna bring my exterior panel and place it inside my lining, like so. I will line up the side edges, use my clips. You can use pins to hold them in place. And as you can see, the right sides of the exterior panel and the lining are together. And again, I'll line up the other side seam because that's very important. Line them up and clip in place. And now I'm going to use clips to hold the rest of the edge together. So go all the way around, make sure everything is neat, there are no puckers in your top seams. Now here where I have my loop, I want to make sure it stays at a 90-degree angle, so I will place a clip right here to make sure it doesn't shift during stitching. Now take your panel to your sewing machine and stitch along the top edge using 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now press your top seams. Just using a little bit of steam, just set the stitches and turn the bag right side out through the hole in the lining. So hold on to the exterior panel and just pull it out. Pull out the exterior as well as the lining until it's neatly out. You can tug a little bit, tug on your panels a bit, And use your iron again to press along this top seam. Make sure you don't press along the loop. You don't want to distort that. Push your lining inside the exterior panel, like so. Make sure you push the corners of your lunge bag out as neatly as possible. And line up the top edges right here. Now you can roll your seam between your thumb and your fingers right here to make it really neat and crisp, like so. Roll it and push on it like that, and clip it to prevent the layers from shifting while we are top stitching. You see how nice the loop is? It's at a 90-degree angle. We don't want it to be crooked here. Now take it to your sewing machine and stitch all the way around the top edge using 1/4 inch seam allowance and also 1/8 inch seam allowance. So you have a double top stitching right here. And I actually like to turn my bag exterior side in like this and then stitch along this edge. I find it's easier to stitch like that. Now that the top stitching is done, we need to close the hole in the lining, and because this seam right here was pressed open, raw edges are neatly falling inside. We can just pin it together and stitch along this open edge using 1/8 inch seam allowance back stitching at the beginning and end. Now turn the bag right side out, like so. It's all nice and neat. There are no more holes in the lining since we stitched that closed. Place your hand inside and use your fingers to push the corners out neatly. You want your lining to sit inside the exterior as much as possible. Now place your panel with your side edge pointing up like that. Use ruler and again a disappearing fabric pen and mark a 2-inch mark right here along the top edge on both sides of your side edges here. So 2 inches from here, 2 inches from here, and do the same on the other side. 2 inches and 2 inches. 2 inches and 2 inches. See, so I have 2 inches here and 2 inches here. Pinch your top panel at the one of the marks right here and pinch the corresponding bottom corner like that to flatten up this edge right here. And now take it to your pressing board and press along this edge. Press along the edge using lots of steam and also making sure that your lining is lined up exactly with the exterior panel right here. So there's a nice crease along the exterior as well as the lining. Now use clips, just 2 or 3 clips is enough to hold this edge in place. Now let's do the other side. So again, we have our 2-inch mark that we marked it right here. Push everything neatly out and pinch it along with the other corner like this. Again, use your fingers to first press it finger press it and use the iron and steam to make a nice crisp edge. And again, use clips to hold the panels in place. See, so this is what's going to give us this extra stability and the fun lunchbox shape that we are going for. So go ahead and do the same folding and pressing on the other side. And now take your panel to your sewing machine and stitch along the folded edge using 1/8 inch seam allowance, backstitching at the beginning and end. We start right here and we finish here where the corner starts, where this seam starts. Okay, so don't stitch over here, just stitch up to this point, backstitch, and move on to the next edge. See, and I'm going to finish right here. I'm not gonna go over this seam. Backstitch, trim the thread. And now I'm gonna start at this point because it's easier to sew this way. Also notice I'm gonna hold the end tail of my thread so I don't get any knots on the bottom of sewing. Now place your finished lunch bag front side up on a flat surface. So front side is the one that doesn't have a loop because we need to mark a placement for the button right here. So fold the gusset under like so and center a mark for the button 4 inches up from the bottom edge. So the way I do it, I place my ruler 4 inches up right here and sort of center it. This is 7 inches and I'll mark it right here. And this is what I'll be adding the button. So I take my hand sewing needle, was my pearl cotton already attached, and I'll stitch the button in. And I do not stitch over the lining, I just attach it to the exterior, but you can go through the lining too if you wish. Make a nice strong knot. Trim off your thread. And the button is right here. So now all you need to do now is fold the top of your lunch bag over here, close it with a loop, and here's your finished lunch bag. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and feel inspired to make your own lunch boxes. Thanks for watching. Bye!